Before I made the Super Mario 64 iceberg video, I had about 170 subscribers. And at the time of recording this, the iceberg video has 1.7 million views and my subscriber count is above 25,000. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. But also, this video here is to provide a bit of context. Due to my tiny amount of subs before that video, my target audience was a few friends and maybe like 50 other random people. Like, I would have been satisfied if the video gained more than 100 views. So if I knew it would reach so many people, I definitely would have explained some things better. The most obvious thing that a lot of people were asking about was, what is the iceberg? I'm sure you've heard the saying, that's only the tip of the iceberg, or phrases like surface level knowledge. In this sense, the tip of the iceberg refers to information about a certain topic having more to it than what most people would initially think. The actual chart format was popular on 4chan, and I remember seeing them well before the Mario 64 one ever existed. They were usually about some sort of topic or interest. Take this one that originated from 4chan's music board. On the top level, you've got stuff like Taylor Swift or Beyonce or the Beatles, artists that pretty much everyone has heard of. Then as you descend, the artists get more and more obscure, with the implication that only the most knowledgeable or far-gone souls of humanity would listen to them. In the context of the Mario 64 iceberg, instead of musical artists, it relates to rumors or secrets surrounding the game. Tons of people know about the L is real rumors about unlocking Luigi, but comparatively less people are gonna know about things like the Omen archives or having shared nightmares. Some people also think that I made the iceberg, and this is partly my fault for just not knowing where it originated from until the video was well into production. I just thought, okay, I saw it posted around Discord and Twitter, and some anonymous V user probably made it, no worries. But in actuality, the people behind the iceberg have built up a considerable amount of lore relating to it. You see, this iceberg actually goes far deeper than I ever touched on. Things like the 100th monkey effect and the personalized copies. These are things that go beyond my simple explanations, so if you want the full, unadulterated story, you'll have to check out Steph's video. I've put a card at the top right corner, and I'm gonna link it on the end screen. Steph is one of the main people behind the creation of the mythos surrounding the iceberg, and as such, his explanations are going to be able to shed a lot more insight onto what's at play here than I ever could. Okay, back to more questions. One other general question I've heard a lot is, are you going to be making any more iceberg videos? And the answer to that is, maybe. I also see a lot of comments saying, do the Half-Life iceberg, or do the Minecraft one, or the Roblox one. And I should just clear this up now. The reason I was able to make the Mario 64 video was because I just love Mario 64, and a majority of my online friends are part of the Mario 64 ROM hacking community, which in turn taught me a lot about the game. I was brought up on Nintendo, and I'm sorry to say that most of the games I play are made by them. I just don't have the same connection to Roblox or Half-Life or even Minecraft. I know I could still do research regarding these games, but I don't know if it would turn out as well as the Mario one, simply because the same amount of passion wouldn't be there. The only two icebergs I'm considering doing are this Ocarina of Time one, started by Error0x404, as well as this Pokemon one that was posted to the Pokemon board on 4chan on July 3rd, 2020. I want to give proper credit to whoever compiled this one, so if anyone has a way of proving who made it, please let me know somehow. I know it's not the biggest deal in the world, since the majority of these mysteries existed before 2020, obviously, and the person who made the image just compiled them into one place, but I still want to give credit where credit is due. Okay, on to more specific questions. I have got hundreds upon hundreds of comments asking me about this part of the video, where for one frame an image of Smile Dog flashes in place of Wario. I would have said that the toad is referring to Wario, since you need to enter the mirror to access the level where he's imprisoned, but the toad will still repeat. The reason I did this is because I wanted to increase the creepiness factor of the whole video as well as Wario himself. The Wario apparition was said to be some cursed, ultra-rare event that would cause stroke-like symptoms in whoever viewed it. So I thought, what better way to help highlight this than to have some disturbing image appear over Wario, as if he himself is taking over the video. Ultimately, I chose not to talk about the Wario apparition like this, but I left the Smile Dog picture in just as a spooky little Easter egg. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room, the Freemasonry thing. Super Mario 64 is a Freemasonic and Illuminist digital ritual, is a thread by Owen Cyclops that he made on Twitter on December 19th, 2018. In my original video, I didn't really give him the proper credit, and ultimately dismissed his theories without offering a proper rebuttal other than just, come on dude. Now, I want to make it clear that I still don't believe that the things he's pointed out actually signify that Mario 64 is some Masonic work of evil, but I want to actually address this properly. Owen Cyclops clearly knows more about these occult things than I do, so please forgive me for my lack of knowledge here. Regardless, I find many of his points to be more or less grasping at straws. Take for example his point about Mario climbing a mountain and dethroning a king to be a parallel to Rosicrucianism imagery. A castle and or a king living on top of a hill is an extremely common trope, as well as a common real-world thing. Castles would often be built on hills due to making it harder for opposing forces to invade upon them. In terms of Mario, several levels in this game involve climbing hills or mountains, obviously with obstacles to overcome simply because that's just how video games work. It's a platformer, so having to jump over things and climb to the top of something to find an objective is just about the most standard thing you could have in a platformer like this. Let's look at his point about Cool Cool Mountain. He's claiming that the elite use certain concepts like the popular idea of Antarctica to delude people and keep them in the dark about reality, as well as rebuilding the snowman's head relates to a myth where Osiris is dismembered and Isis seeks his body parts. Okay, 1, this being a snowy mountain doesn't necessarily mean it's in Antarctica, it's just a mountain with snow on it. It could be in Canada for all we know. And 2, sure, you could interpret the snowman's head as being related to an ancient Egyptian myth, but I'm gonna take a wild guess here and say that those weren't the developers' intentions when they were designing a mission where you roll down a hill with a talking snowball. So, I hope you see what I mean here. This thread by Owen is super long and talks about a bunch of other different things, but it just didn't seem like it was worth talking about in the video. I didn't think it was worth going through every tweet in this thread and just saying, yeah, you could look at it this way, but I think the devs just want to make a fun video game mission instead of a Masonic illusion. Again, I don't believe in this sort of stuff, and it's not a bad thing if you do believe in this. I just don't think that the evidence for this sort of thing existing is strong enough, just because you have to be majorly jumping to conclusions for a lot of it. I'll also touch on the 120 has spiritual significance thing. I still stand by what I said about being able to assign meaning to any numbers you want, but a few comments pointed out that 120 has significance in Judaism. Specifically, the phrase, "May you live to be 120" is a common Jewish blessing, and if I'm understanding correctly, 120 was the maximum age a person was meant to live to, according to the book of Genesis at least. Kinda cool, but I don't think it has much to do with Mario 64, since in the remake they upped the maximum amount of stars to be 150. Still though, it's something I should have mentioned. Alright, now for some stuff I got wrong or was just lazy on. According to King of the Internet, the brain diagram isn't hidden in Wet Dry World, it is Wet Dry World. A comment he wrote provides a detailed explanation. Wet Dry World is a simulation of the human brain and its functions, but not in the traditional sense. It's kinda like how you see the calculations or computers made in Mario Maker. Its functions do have to do with the water levels rising and falling. This ties into why there's a brain diagram hidden in Wet Dry World. That way the devs could have a reference point, and why Wet Dry World has this negative emotional aura around it. It's fucking conscious. It's a fucking brain. Does the brain even function? Oh, it functions alright. The tide stimulates the brain, similar to the electrical charges that send messages to your brain. It has to do with the level structure. Wet Dry World just feels off. Kinda like it was a beta test level that they haphazardly threw together at the very last minute. But the truth is, the whole level was a goddamn experiment with simulating a brain. That's why the level structure feels so off. The enemies might have something to do with it too, but I can't think of what the enemies do to help stimulate the brain. It works slowly, but it fucking works. King of the Internet is one of the people who helped write a lot of the mythos as well, so what he says is legit. For the secret slide dimensional rift, I failed to point out that it takes place in a black void instead of being surrounded by a brick wall or a proper skybox or something. For the 1995 07-29 build, I said June instead of July. This one makes me mad because I have gotten June and July mixed up for my entire life, but what's even worse is that I wrote the word June in my script. I've literally gotten this mixed up since I was a kid, and clearly it's not stopping anytime soon. For Toad projection, Mr. Comet pointed out that toads can't actually appear in the black void like I thought they could, and a few other people also pointed out that their faded appearance might relate to the theory of them being trapped literally within the walls. As in, the toads you see are just copies or projections of themselves, and they appear to be faded because the toads aren't strong enough to counteract Bowser's dark magic for too long. And finally, the thought experiment thing. So, when I was doing my research for this video, I came across a post in one of the original 4chan threads about the iceberg, which was talking about something called the forced mental fall theory. And there was a previous post that also asked the reader to just imagine Mario in Mario 64. The post says, "The Mario forced mental fall thing is that some people can't imagine Mario running around in Mario 64 without also imagining him falling into a pit. Like this pit was pulling Mario in, and they can't contrast this pull with their thought." A few other Anons in the thread were talking about them imagining Mario falling into a pit. And it worked on me. When I thought of Mario, I just pictured him falling into the first gap in Hazy Maze Cave. So from all of this, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool, I have to include this in the video. It turns out that this didn't work for the vast majority of people. It might have been the way I introduced the question where I said imagine him running around, since most people in the comments said that they literally pictured him just running in circles. But I feel like even if I phrased the question differently, it probably wouldn't have worked. A swing and a miss for me. Oh yeah, and I also pronounced this word wrong. In my defense, whenever I'd hear people talking about him, everyone pronounced it like Pannenkoek, but a high number of Dutch people have informed me that it's pronounced Pannenkoek. This last section of the video is going to be stuff that I think I should just answer anyway. In terms of when I make content, I'm not really going to have a schedule I adhere to. Basically, I upload videos whenever they're done, and I'm definitely not committed enough to do like weekly uploads or anything. Some people have also asked about making a Discord server or something. I don't really think I want to do something like that, because I'd honestly just be really bad at moderating things if a lot of people joined. The last thing I want to do is be one of those content creators who makes a server, gets a bunch of moderators to run it for them, and then never interacts with the server. It's the same reason I don't link any of my social media in the descriptions or anything. I'd probably get way too overwhelmed. Sorry guys. And I think that pretty much covers everything. I'm sorry if you commented something and I didn't see it, but there are literally thousands of comments on that video, and as much as I love all your guys' questions and stuff, I'm just one guy. With all that being said, if I do end up making more iceberg vids, I'll be sure not to repeat the same mistakes I made in the last one, and I'm not going to include any more one-frame jump scares. Thank you for watching. I'm going to remind you again here at the end to check out Steph's video, because none of this would have been possible without him and the rest of the people who put together this iceberg in the first place. Show him some love, subscribe to him, subscribe to me, subscribe to whoever you want really, and remember... Only place I hate more than Indianapolis? Chicago.